Morena Church. I'm going to bring the Bible reading this morning. It's from 1 Corinthians, chapter 3, and verses 1 to 9, and reading from the New Living Translation. Dear brothers and sisters, when I was with you, I couldn't talk to you as I would to spiritual people. I had to talk as though you belonged to this world, or as though you were infants in Christ. I had to feed you milk, not with solid food, because you weren't ready for anything stronger. And you still aren't ready, for you are still controlled by your sinful nature. You are jealous of one another and quarrel with each other. Doesn't that prove that you are controlled by your sinful nature? Aren't you living like people of the world? When one of you says, I am a follower of Paul, and another says, I follow Apollos, aren't you acting just like people of the world? After all, who is Apollos? Who is Paul? We are only God's servants through whom you believed the good news. Each of us did the work the Lord gave us. I planted the seed in your hearts, and Apollos watered it, but it was God who made it grow. It's not important who does the planting or who does the watering. What's important is that God makes the seed grow. The one who plants and the one who waters work together with the same purpose, and both will be rewarded for their own hard work. For we are both God's workers, and you are God's field. You are God's building. Lord bless his reading to us together.
Great, wonderful to be back here again, and thank you for having me. When I read through the verse, I thought about what Paul was saying, and I wanted to talk about being on God's team. What does it mean to be on God's team? And when we look at the verse that's just been read, if you look at the start of the book of Corinthians and this chapter here, the first thing Paul's addressing is the conflict inside of the church. The fact that people niggle with each other. We have niggles. Anybody ever had a niggle with somebody in the church? Anybody ever had a niggle with the way somebody did something in the church? It just wasn't your way of doing it. Okay? That's the kind of thing that he's talking about over here. And the thing I wanted to focus on was the aspect around purpose. What's the purpose that God has given us? So as we look at this, God has equipped us in certain ways. And that equipping comes with the ability to do something. And I want to start off by looking at the fact that we as a people are to be known by love. This 1 Corinthians is known as the love chapter. 1 Corinthians 13 is probably one of the most famous known verses because it's used at weddings and things like that. And God says that we are to be known. Margie prayed, what do people think? When people come across you, do you talk in loving terms? If I was to analyze your conversation over this last week, how did you talk about politics? How did you talk about the crises that are happening around the world? How did you talk about work? If I was to weigh your conversation with the conversation of people who don't know Christ, would you be found wanting? Because it says very clearly in 1 John 13 that we are to be known by the fact that we love each other. And so as we come together as a people of Christ, one of the things that I've often found is that quite often we have our way of doing things, and we like to do it our way. I've mentioned before, how many of you, we saw on the screen there, a lot of people go sit in the same chair every Sunday. Okay, it's very comfortable, all right? That's my spot, all right? And heaven forbid somebody else sit there before you, it's like quite uncomfortable. It's like, that's my spot, all right? And so what we want to be looking at is, are we known by love? Do people see us being those shining lights that Margie talked about? When we're in a workplace and people are talking about the war in Iran, or people are talking about Palestine, or people are talking about politics, or people are talking about whatever it might be that captures people's imagination, when people are afraid about running out of fuel, okay, do you bring the light and the loving perspective? Because that's what Paul's saying here. Can people tell the difference? Do you bring hope? You know, I've shared my story before in church that when my mum's agnostic, and I very first came across the concept of Christianity and even a God at about 7 years old, when my girlfriend, as much as one has a girlfriend at 7, gave me a picture Bible, which I read cover to cover, and I was fascinated with the character of Christ. Absolutely fascinated. So then I went and spoke to Christians, obviously kids that I knew at that stage, and I went from being utterly fascinated to completely dejected, because I was looking at the people, and they didn't know what they were talking about. Most of them never even read the Bible, even the picture version. And going through my life, I made a game, a habit of engaging with people of faith, particularly the Christian faith, because where I was, there were a lot of Christians, and engaging with the people of faith and saying, oh, what do you believe? And they would tell me something, and I'd go to their scriptures, and I would go, oh, but the scripture says this, so actually what you believe is irrelevant. Okay? And I was looking at the people, and the people were quarreling, and the people were niggly with each other. And I'd look at my mum, who wasn't a Christian, and she's incredibly kind, incredibly loving, incredibly consistent. And they just weren't stacking up, okay? And so I went through the whole of my schooling years looking at people, looking for this light that's spoken of in the Bible. And then a friend of me said to me, have you ever been to a gym? And I was like, yeah. He was like, well, when you walk in there, he said, some people are bulging muscles, okay? They've been there for a while, okay? You see them curling big weights. Others of them are like seriously overweight. You know, you have the extreme spectrums, okay? And he says, when you walk in, do you look and go, well, you shouldn't be here? Okay? No, the fact that they may be overweight, they're not working. They're in the right place. They're not in the right shape, but they're in the right place, okay? And so when we walk into church, what are you seeing? What eyes do you come with? Do you come with that thing that we are to be known by love? Or do you come in and look at somebody's dress and go, probably shouldn't be wearing that to church? Okay. Or what happened to your Sunday best? Anybody here have ever been a little bit guilty to looking at somebody's clothing and kind of go, I don't know if that t-shirt's appropriate at church today. Anybody ever done that? Hey? Some people go, not me, no. And other people go, yeah, okay. One of the things in the Bible that really stood out to me and continues to stand out to me and is illustrated very strongly in Paul's writing is that we are not to judge. In the book of Romans, he emphasizes, do not pass judgment on one another. There are multiple verses around this. And he talks about all the little picky points that people pick. We talk about all these different churches. Some of them say, you can't eat meat. You know, some Christians say that you should keep all of the holy days. Some Christians say, he looked at all of these things. The things we get stuck up about, the things we get stuck on. He goes, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. So one person esteems a day better than another. This other person says you should eat this and you shouldn't eat that. Some people are looking at Daniel, who chose not to eat meat, and they were like, that's a good thing. He was honoring God. I want to honor God, so I'm going to do the same thing. Other people look at the story of Peter, where the sheet's lowered down, and God's saying, hey, look at all that meat. Go for your life. Okay, and they're going, yeah, I'm in. All right? They both want to honor God, but they're taking a different path. Don't judge. He goes on and talks about how the object that we're looking for here is, who are you living for? Are you living for yourself, or are you living to honor and worship God? So as we come together, are you looking to other people, or are you looking to God? Are you trying to stand up and hold yourself up with other people? We're trying to esteem ourselves, we're trying to find our identity in others. How many of you here would have to plead guilty to having done the thing that they were doing back at the beginning of this chapter, where there's somebody famous and you go, oh, I know somebody who knows them. Or maybe I went to school with them, or they went to the same school as me. Who's ever done that? A little bit of that before, okay? All right. What are we looking for? What are we looking for? We're looking for affirmation from people. We're looking for identity from people. I'm someone important because I've rubbed shoulders with somebody important, because I've crossed paths with somebody important, that the world holds up as important. And what Paul's trying to say over here is, we are important because we know God. We are to shine because we know God. And we're not to judge each other. You know, one of my favorite verses in Romans is this: there is therefore now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. For the law of sin and death has been done away with. We're not to be judging by worldly standards. We're not to live under this weight of judgment. We've been forgiven. And that's why we get to shine. That's why we get to shine. We can stuff up and not live under the weight of guilt. We can be forgiven. For me, when I was weighing up religions, I was looking at all the different types of religions that were out there, and the thing that appealed to me so much about Christianity and about God is that He is a God of love. He is a God of grace. You cannot earn your salvation. It is given to you by the grace of God, by the love of God. And what I want to start off with, as we start to look at personalities this morning, I want to just talk about this thing around comparison. Because many of us look at people, sometimes we look at physical traits. I want to be as skinny as them, or I want to be as well built as them, or I want whatever the physical attribute. Maybe I want hair, or maybe I want that color. Girls particularly. Who here has got daughters? Okay. How many of your daughters have got straight hair and they want curly hair? Or they've got curly hair and they want straight hair? Who's ever come across that one? It's like, it doesn't matter what you get, it's like they want something different. Comparison is the thief of joy. Paul talks about, the fact that we are a body of Christ. We've got hands and feet. Now, they're similar. We've got 5 digits on both, but they're different. Okay? What about your ears and your eyes and your nose, or your ears and your nose? They've got 2. We've got 2 ears, 2 nostrils, 2 eyeballs. Similar, but different. What about your ear and your hand? They each have a purpose. They each have a purpose. Each of us have a purpose. They're just different. And different is just different. It's not wrong. Different is just different. It's not wrong. And so as we start off today, what I want to look at is the fact that we are all different. Could you please cross your arms? Excellent. Could you please cross your legs? Great. Okay, now, keeping it like that, have a quick look. Did you cross your right over your left or your left over your right? Okay. Now, what I'd like you to do, please, could you swap it around and do them the other way around? How does that feel? Yeah, no, that's just not, it doesn't feel as comfortable. No, you can do it, but it doesn't feel as comfortable. If you're naturally a right over left, then doing the left over right just doesn't feel quite right, okay? Right, one of the classic ones. How many of you can pat your head while rubbing your tummy? Go on, give it a go. Some people go, yeah, no, I've done this. You find you'll end up rubbing your hair and, All right. So those of you who are feeling energetic, and please don't hurt yourself doing this, but a quick thing, if you'd like to quickly stand up if you can, and what I'd like you to do, please, is I'd like you to link your arms behind your back. Can you do this? Now, going back to a gym analogy, if you're particularly muscly, this is hard. And then what I want you to do, please, is do it the other way around.
I can do it.
All right, grab a seat, grab a seat, grab a seat. Now, some of you could do it like this. So this way around, I'm not too bad. This way around, I can barely touch fingers, okay? And if you're old, you can't do that, yeah? And if you're particularly muscly, if ever you want to go into a competition with somebody who's got bulky muscles, that's a great thing to do because their muscles just don't allow them to do it. All right? So how many of you here have ever done a personality profile? I know there's one in the study we're doing at the moment. Okay. And there are dozens and dozens of different personality profiles. I've paid for over 50 myself over the years because this is the space that I'm in. I work with different ones for different people. The most common one in New Zealand, there are a couple that are very common. So DISC, which is called the DISC personality profile. There's 16 personalities. So oftentimes when people want to do personality profiles as a team and as a business, I'll get them to do this one. It uses the Myers-Briggs personality type indicator. And this one comes from 16personalities.com. There's the analyzer, director, relator. Once again, very popular one. There's the dope personality profile. That's not the stuff you smoke. Okay, just be really clear. It's the dove, owl, peacock, and eagle, and there's an animal variation of it as well. Okay, there's the Enneagram. Some of you might have done that. There's a big 5 personality profile as well. If you really want to, you can even go and do a Star Wars personality profile, okay? Go see which character you most like. The purpose of doing a personality profile is to understand that you do not see other people as they are. You see other people as you are. So when we start to look at personalities, one of the things I really want you to understand is this. The better you understand yourself, the better you can understand other people. The better you understand yourself, the better you can understand other people. If this was the first time you saw me today, and I reminded you of a bully from a workplace or from school, you're going to look at me and go, oh, he's one of those people. And you're going to be very cool towards me. Okay, you're going to be very cool. It's like, one of them. If the first time you saw me today, I reminded you of somebody who was really kind to you, somebody who had helped you out, you're going to go, oh, he's one of those people. And you're going to be very warm towards me. Okay? Now, I haven't changed. I haven't changed. It's just your filters that you're viewing me through. Okay? The better you know yourself, the better you can know other people. Now, there are a multiplicity of different personality types. What I want to focus on is the fact that each one of us brings something, and that makes the team of God. Okay, we're on God's team. And so, using the acronym of TEAM, I wanted to talk through 4 different personality profiles. Please, I am not trying to put you into a box. Okay. You all have a little bit of everything inside of that. You all have a little bit of everything. Okay? But what you will find is that most of you will be very dominant in 1 or 2 of what I'm about to run through. One of the things that when this isn't done well, one of the things I often see is people will start to write off other people. They go, oh, you're just being an eagle, or you're just being a lion. It's like they write off the whole person and the whole message because they don't like the person, or they don't like the personality type. Okay. So what I want to do is, if I'm going to invite you, if you happen to have a pen and paper, or if you happen to have your phone or whatever you want to write in, I'd invite you to write down the names of the people who are closest to you in your life, like 3 to 5 names. And what I'm going to invite you to do is, as we go through this, and include your name inside of that, put your name at the top, try to pick which 1 or 2 of these, normally most people have 2, a dominant and a next dominant, which 2 of these are most like you. Okay. So, I'm going to run through the 4 different personality types. You'll notice on the previous slide that many of them are broken down. There we go. That many of them have 4 breakdowns. So most personality types look at 4 main groups of people. Okay, we'll talk 4 main personality types. Please pick which one are you most like. Now, I encourage you to do this. If you're here with your wife, your partner, your close friend, do it without showing them and get them to include you on their list. And then compare, how do they see you? Because one of the key things that people are often shocked about is the way that you see yourself is often not the way other people see you. Some of you will see yourself as being incredibly approachable, but you'll actually be very strong and dominant. And so, but you won't know that about yourself. All right, let's run through it. So, 4 personality types. We're going to start with the T being the targeted. So I like to talk about T being targeted, okay? So the targeted one is like an arrow. They are going somewhere. They've got purpose. They've got drive, okay? And they're on a mission. You can see over there the driver, the kahu, the eagle, lion. They're about the ox, the power roll, okay? These people need to get results, okay? They're driven by what do we need to do to make stuff happen, okay? Now, you can normally tell these people because they're very decisive. They're like, come on, people, I've had a thought. Let's get on with it now. Anytime now. Come on, hurry up. Okay. What they bring to a team is that they've got this drive, this energy, this incredible focus. They want to make stuff happen, okay? Anytime there's a problem, they just go, well, what do we need to do to get over it? Okay. The challenge they bring to a team is that they're so focused on the outcome that this thing about people having feelings, it's like, ugh, do you have to? Can you just come to work and work? Can we just come onto this team and get a result, okay? This thing about having feelings, like, can you leave that for another more convenient place? Okay. And now, not to say that they don't care. It's just that when they're in zone, when they're in mode, when the best of them is coming forward in terms of their personality, they are outcome focused. They are outcome focused. They're focused on the big picture. What can we change? How do we get there? And they love facts and figures. They don't want the feeling stuff. It's like, what's the data say? Okay. So they bring forward incredible drive, incredible energy, incredible focus, incredible momentum. They're often the visionaries in an organization. But what they need to be aware of is that they can quite often upset people because they get so task focused. The next group of people we have, I like to call them the energy people. Okay, these are typically, they're very extroverted normally. These energy people, you can see I've got a little star there. You can often tell when they come into a room. They're like, whoo, the party started, I'm here, well, let's go. Like the energy levels just go, vroom. Okay, and they bring a lot of energy. They bring a lot of joy. They're very focused on people. They're very focused on people. They like the big picture. Okay, they like the big picture. But what they bring to a team is energy. They bring a joy. They're playful. You can see over there. They're quite intuitive. The Piwaka Waka. Anybody here ever try to take a picture of a fantail before? You'll know what it's like. It's like, okay, just so you get in Zoom, they're like ping, and they go ding, and it's like ding. I often call it shiny thing syndrome, okay? They're all over the place, okay? And you can see over there the monkey, the otter, they're playful. They bring a joyful energy to a team. The challenge they bring to a team is they're so busy focused on people that quite often they let the details slip. They go, oh, details. Somebody else will pick those up, okay? And you can often tell them, so if you walk into a team, the person with a desk that's just loaded high with paper is normally one of these, okay? Or the person who's running late, like there's somebody talking to this person, they suddenly look at their clock and they go, oh, I'm meant to be with that person. They go dashing out to the car park, okay? Classic in this space over here. So the thing they have to watch when they come to a team is that their energy, their joy, their vitality doesn't forget the details. Now, in this team, what's really interesting is that over half of the congregation, on the little survey we did beforehand, leans towards order and structure and planning. For those of you, these people over here fly by the seat of their pants. Okay, they typically will drive you nuts. Like when you see you're partnered with one of them, you're like, heaven help us. If you're at school with one of them, you go, I guess I'm doing the project myself. Okay? They'll be fun, but they won't get much done, okay? So they need it to be there. If they're not there, by the way, you will notice them, okay? You'll notice their absence. Right. The next group of people we find are the highly accurate people. Okay, you can see the little tick box over there. Their motto for life is very simple. Get it right the first time. if you have time to fix it, you had time to do it right the first time. Okay? What they bring to a team is a sense of stability, a sense of process. Okay? They like structure, they like order, they like certainty. One of the key characteristics of them, they are highly risk adverse. They're highly risk adverse. And as such, they're very cautious. They don't want to make a mistake. Now, in a team environment, quite often they default to wearing the black hat. Those of you who know the black hat things. If you can imagine, you've got the targeted people. They're going, oh, what do we need to do to get this outcome? And you've got the energy people going, who can we involve to get involved in this? And they're having this wonderful brainstorm session. What can we do? Who can we do? And then this group of people come along, they go, so how exactly do you intend to do that? And all the energy seems to go, it's like, oh, it's them talking again. Okay. But often what they bring is the voice of reason. They bring the voice, so they're not overly optimistic. They actually go, well, can we just think about this, please? Can we just tick off a couple of boxes to make sure that we don't run the risk? Okay. And then we have the people who bring what I call meaning to a team. Okay. Or they're very methodical, but they bring meaning. That's why they've got a big heart there. They care about the people. So you've got one group going, hey, what can we do? Who can we involve? How are we going to do it? And these people over here go, again, why do we need to change? Because they don't like change that much. Okay, they tend to be a lot more. They want things to be stable. They want things to be really nice. They care deeply about people. They want things to be. They don't want anyone to be upset. They're typically high harmony. Okay, and if you look over here, they're very steady. They've got the dove, the lamb, the golden Labrador. They're very peaceful. They want to bring peace to a team. So if ever there's going to be change, because change is unsettling. They go, well, do we really need to do it? Why do we need to change? Let's keep it steady. So what they bring to a team is a deep connection with each other. They bring a deep connection with the people on a team. The thing they have to watch for is that they don't hold back the team too much because of their reluctance to change, because of their familiarity with what they're doing. So my encouragement for you with those names that you've written down is to pick 2 letters for yourself. So what are you most like? Like I said, you all be all of everything. And then the people who are closest to you, how do you see them? And then after the service, have a quick check-in with them. See what they think of how they see you and how you see you. And what you'll realize is that even with the people who are close to you, they have a different perception of you to what you might have for yourself. We all have different personalities, and our personalities is what make us a team. You need all of them. That's why I always draw it in a round circle. It's like a wheel. We need the balance. You see, if we're going to work as a team, one of the key things we need to do with that aspect of love in mind is we need to assume best intent. Many of us get upset with people because we assume that they've done something deliberately. But what many of us don't realize is that God has equipped us to work as a team. But we have to assume best intent. Most of us tend to observe other people's behaviors. Who has ever been cut off in traffic before? How do you react? If you're honest, okay, how do you react if someone cuts you off in traffic? Mad, yep. So the hooter, some words, maybe some hand signals, okay. So when somebody comes in front of us, we're like, bro, what do you think you're doing, silly twit? Okay, or more colorful. And then what happens? Anybody here ever cut in front of somebody in traffic? What do you do when you cut in front of somebody in traffic? Oops, sorry. Okay, so when somebody else does it, we go, oh, they're being an idiot. Who taught you? Where did you go buy your license? When we do it, so we look at their behavior. When we do it, go, oh, look, I'm sorry I didn't see you. I'm sorry I'm in a rush. I'm sorry, because I understand my intent. So when we come together as a team, let's assume best intent. If you assume best intent, if you assume everybody is here to love you and to love on each other, it changes the way you see people and their behavior. And then we start to look at what does God equip you to do. You go, well, I'm here to do my bit, okay? And when I talk about what God equipped you to do, it's often the stuff that you find so easy that you actually think it's irrelevant. Kerry and I do a lot of Gallup Strengths Finder, where we look at what are people's natural strengths. And quite often, when it comes up, people go, oh, doesn't everybody have that? Doesn't everybody think like that? Doesn't everybody do that? Okay? If you find something really easy, chances are that's what you're equipped with. That little thing we did before. And some people find it so easy to greet people at the door. Other people are like, find me my chair as quick as possible and let me sit down. Okay? It's not easy for them. When we're prepared to accept that God has given us something, that we do have a skill set, then the next question must be, what then is God calling you to do? Because God has made it very clear in his words that we are here to do something. We're not just here to breathe oxygen and die, okay? We actually have to be effective. That's why they often use images of gardens, all right? So are you a seed planter? Are you a seed waterer? Are you a gardener? One of my favorite verses in the Bible is when the orchard owner came down and said to them, oh, pull up that tree. And the guy that looked after the garden said, oh, give me another year. Just give me another year. That tree just needs a little bit more tendering. I've put some good soil. Give me a year with it. And if it hasn't done anything by then I'll do it. There's some people who are prepared to walk alongside somebody even when they can't, it doesn't look like there's growth. Because they go, no, there's something in there. Other people go, hang no. Okay? Some people are seed planters. They're like, plant the seed, plant the seed, plant the seed, plant the seed. Billy Graham, amazing seed planter. Okay? But we still need somebody to water it. We still need somebody to nurture it to grow. Which role are you called to? Because this is the thing, in that verse that we read, you have a purpose. God has given you a purpose. Okay? What is yours? When we come together as a congregation, we are to complement and serve each other. You're not expected to do it all on your own. And the best teams are made up of people who are extraordinarily good in their area, in their purpose. If you look at great sports teams, you'll often see that. They have people who are extraordinarily good in their position. Dan Carter's called the best number 10 in the world. That was his position. If you'd gone and put him in his flank, he wouldn't even have made the team. Okay. For this year, for the church, we're talking about praying and going, okay? But if we're going to pray and go, we've got to pray and go as a body. So when people see us individually, when people see us as a unit, they see the light of God. And in order to do that, a couple of key things to wrap up as we go. Are you planted in God? So are you rooted in the garden that is in God? When we start to look at the fruit in your life, the conversations that are coming out of your mouth, are you shining? Or do you need to change some of the soil that you're planted in? Because we want to be rooted and connected so that we serve. Redwoods are often renowned as being the tallest trees, and they come together as a great forest. And you'd imagine their roots are hugely deep, but actually their roots are not that deep. They're just all interconnected and interwoven. And so when the forest blows, it's trying to blow the whole of the redwood forest because all of them are interconnected together. And a key thing in this is, where do you find your identity? Are you looking for it in who you know? Oh, I know so-and-so. Oh, so-and-so did this. Or are you looking for it in, I am a child of Christ. I'm saved. I'm redeemed. Where is your identity? Because once that's sorted, you're not looking for the external validation. You're free to be yourself. You see, the moment you start to look for external validation, you start to change your personality. Who has ever noticed that when you get around a certain group of friends or a certain group of people, you're not quite the you want to be? Anybody ever notice that about themselves? Okay. So are we surrounding ourselves with the right people, and are we bringing the right light because we understand whose we are? Okay. And then, are you being watered? Being planted is one thing, but you need to be watered. Okay. Who are you serving? Because we need to give as well as receive. And sometimes that means something's going to need pruning in your life. What do you need to cut from your life? I want to leave you with this, and it's the fact that we are all unique. Every single one of us, and we're all called to be a part of this family of God. And what God's asking you to do is to bring your best. Bring the best of who He made you to be, and by doing that, He will be able to work through you and through this family of God to impact the world, which is what we're called to do. Thank you.